also a long distance and your own phone number. Make us your new phone company or add a second line with MagicJet.
Time for tonight's rerun. Michelle Bachman has made the political decision to never, ever admit that she's wrong. It's not an unusual decision for a politician. Most of them have made that exact same decision, and most of them get away with that most of the time, but very, very few of them are as wrong as often as Michelle Bachman is wrong. No one can forget this one.
We know there was slavery that was still tolerated when the nation began. We know that was an evil, and it was a scourge and a blot and a stain upon our history. But we also know that the very founders that wrote those documents worked tirelessly until slavery was no more in the United States. And I think it is high time that we recognize the contribution of our forebears who worked tirelessly. Men like John Quincy Adams, who would not rest until slavery was extinguished in the country.
When informed by reporters who could remember enough of their elementary school American history that she was wrong about that, nothing could make her admit it. Her most recent refusal to admit how wrong she was occurred this week with George Stephanopoulos.
You said that the Founding Fathers worked tirelessly to end slavery.
Well, if you look at one of our founding fathers, John Quincy Adams, that's absolutely true. He was a very young boy when he was with his father, serving essentially as his father's secretary. He tirelessly worked throughout his life to make sure that we did, in fact, one day eradicate slavery from our nation. And I'm so grateful for that work.
He was a president. He was a Secretary of State. As a member of Congress, you're right. He did work to end slavery decades later. But so you're standing by this comment that the Founding Fathers worked tirelessly to end slavery?
Well, John Quincy Adams most certainly was a part of the Revolutionary War era. He was a young boy, but he was actively involved.
So it's not surprising that some observers believe that Michelle Bachman's campaign is going to depend on even more rewriting of history.
And not only is Michelle Bachman sticking to this Founding Father thing, she's working on, I don't know if it's a documentary or some sort of educational film, but it's something to teach kids about American history.
In 1775, Thomas Jefferson and John Quincy Adams set sail across the Delaware River to tell the King of England that they had had enough of his liberal agenda. King James called Napoleon and together decided to kill him. They sent the Nina, the Pinata, and the Santa Maria type class. But then, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln gathered an army to turn back the big government dictators. They told Paul Revere to ride his horse to Frodo, to tell him to cast the ring of power into the fires of Mount Doom. But then, John Wilkes Booth showed up and killed Lincoln. But there was still hope, because Jesus appeared on the face of the Liberty Bell, and he froze John Wilkes Booth in carbonite. And the liberal homosexuals sailed back to their gay country, while Americans claimed their land and drank beer. And that's how freedom was born.